Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today I have Aletha joining me. Hi, Aletha.
Hi.
Hey guys, we have a really exciting video for you today. And the video is everything you assume to be true about your specific person is being projected out into the 3D reality. So we are actually going to give you some tips and tricks on how you can change what's showing up in your 3D reality, how you can change what the other person is thinking. So this video is for you if you're trying to change any sort of relationship that you have, change someone's mind, change anything that's showing up in your 3D when it comes to another person. So we're really excited to share this with you. We've got a couple success stories we're going to share. Then of course we're going to get into some tips on how you can do that. And of course I'm going to talk about everyone as you pushed out, because how do you change your reality without that? You don't. So but first, guys, we're having a contest. Definitely check out the details in the description below, as well as we've got a mailing list if you would like a sale, a discount to know when any new services and meditations, live meditations, all that's coming out when coaches launch their courses. Definitely sign up for that. And yeah, guys, Aletha's got a discount. She's got 50% off her coaching right now. It's not going to last long, limited time only. So definitely check out the link in the description below if you would like help recreating your relationship or manifesting someone, or, changing really anything in your life. We're here for you. We're going to give you some great tips, help you find your blocks, and give you some great intentions and help you to figure out how you could take whatever you're looking to manifest to the next level and actually manifest it. So yeah, without further ado, I'm so excited for your success story, Aletha. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. It's good to be here and to share this really cool success story. My client came to me saying that she had been in a relationship for about a year, and it was going well at first, blissful and all those cool things that are a part of a relationship. And then fear started to crop in. She started to worry. The moment we fall in love with somebody, we start to fear we're going to lose them. She also started having triggers from her past relationships, which created more fear and created assumptions that were not in support of what she wanted and in support of staying with this person. And she was confused and frightened. And anyway, she ended up creating a third party, and then she became fearful, even more fearful. And as it turns out, he chose the third party over her. They split up. It was a peaceful split. They parted peacefully, but she was crushed. But then they didn't see each other after that for like 2 years, no contact. But she still wanted to be with this SP. And she had a knowing in her that she had created that, but she really had no idea how to uncreate it and what to do. And then we started working together. And so I started explaining to her some of the things of the law of assumption. And we started working on 3 areas: her self-concept, her SP, her assumptions of her self-concept, of her SP, and then also of relationships, because she had abandonment issues. And so some of that was being reflected into her assumptions with this SP. So we worked through all those things together. We created out of that, well, what we did actually first was I had her make a list of all the intentions and that she wanted to adjust. So anyway, we went through all of that, and then she ended up with him. So I can give you more details if you want on how that process went, but they ended up back together. The third party is gone because she was persistent in the assumptions that we worked on for those 3 areas. She was also persistent with her inner conversations, and persistent in some imagining, but mostly that was through inner conversations. And so one day she received a word from him and that he missed her and wanted to talk to her, found out that the third party was gone, and now they're very happy together. So.
Oh my God, I love it. That is so awesome. It really is, right? When we choose to change what we're thinking and what we're focusing on, it really does change what shows up in our 3D reality. So an example from my life, which you guys always love to know about my relationship. So as you guys know, if you've been following the channel for a long time, me and Andrew did move in together, but then he didn't want to get married. And we were living together for, oh my God, a couple years. And for those couple years, I was constantly thinking like, oh, he's not going to want to get married. He's not going to want to get married. And then finally I shifted myself and I thought to myself, I'm like, well, I'm focusing on what I don't want. I mean, I definitely don't want him to think that. And he's me pushed out. So every thought an assumption that I have about him, he's going to reflect back. So I started running around in my head saying, oh, you know what? It's like we're already married because we live together. So he's going to want to get married. And I just kept saying that and saying that, you know, and the funny thing was, is he reflected those exact words back to me at one point. He's like, well, we're pretty much already married. I was like, yeah, we are. Like, bingo. So, you know, and the great thing is when you shift what you're thinking inside to actually, you know, thoughts that are for and like, you know, in line with what you want, you're going to get what you want, because everybody's constantly overhearing your thoughts. I remember when I first learned this, I was like devastated. I was like, the only thing I thought was mine was my thoughts, and now everybody can overhear them. But the beautiful thing is they think it's their idea, because everyone, as you pushed out, when you have a thought or assumption about them, they act on it as they own it, that it was theirs. So nobody knows it was you. They think it was them. That's the beautiful thing about this.
Absolutely. And in line with what you said, one of the intentions or assumptions that she created in wanting to get her SP back was that he tells me all the time that I'm the perfect woman for him, and that, you know, I'm the woman he's been searching for all his life. And then we also used a mantra and that said, my SP always chooses me first above all else and over everyone else, because she was really struggling with that whole third party thing and not being chosen. So we use that. But what was interesting about that, the part where he says, I'm the perfect woman for him, he actually said that to her when they started to connect again. And it's like verbatim. It's like, oh my gosh, that's what I had been intending. But he, like you said, thought it was his idea.
Yeah.
You know, no idea.
Exactly. So there was like a few points here, 5 points that we had. So I think this would be a great time. So what Aletha is going to go through right now is basically how you can do this for yourself in your reality, because a lot of it, you do need to dig up those old thoughts that you've had. You've got to identify those assumptions. So yeah, Aletha is going to share with you right now how you can actually change it in your reality. And this, guys, this is gold. She wrote it and sent it to me like about a half a week ago. And I was like, that's perfect. That's amazing. It was almost like I wrote it myself.
Well, that's the cool. It was nice to get your response. Yeah, so as we had said earlier, everything that we assume to be true is being projected out of us. And then it is going to be, it's being reflected back, because our thoughts are mirrored back to us. So whatever you are assuming or whatever meaning you are assigning to something, that's going to be projected out of you, and then it will be reflected back into your 3D reality. So my question to her was, and the assumptions that she had about him, what are your assumptions? So we had to go through all of her assumptions about him. And then as we talked, I realized we needed to also talk about what the assumptions were for herself, her self-concept, and then of course the SP. What story was she telling about this person? And then also, because she had had past relationships that failed, she had some perspectives that were not really truth. And so we needed to change some of those assumptions. So we wrote out our assumptions in those 3 areas: self-concept, the SP, and then for the relationship. In her self-concept, was an example would be that I'm not good enough, that I'm not worthy, that no one ever stays with me, because she was always concerned about people leaving her. So she had this assumption that they were just going to leave. And she had evidence from the past, because she had been looping that thought for a long time. So we worked on that and changed those 2 positive assumptions. Like, no, I'm a beautiful person. I'm an amazing person. People love me. People always want to stay with me. People respect me. And then we moved on then to her second area, which was the SP, and her story or her assumptions about him, that he would always choose someone else over her. And again, that comes back to self-concept. But then we changed that to, no, my SP loves me and adores me, and he chooses me first above all else and over everyone else. And the absolute seemed to work for her, that she needed that kind of reinforcement, like absolute, that he always. And then we moved into some of the concepts she had about, and there were many more affirmations and intentions that I'm giving you right now. But then we moved into the relationship, and her perspective on relationships, that she was a failure. And again, that comes back to self-concept, that I'm not good enough. And so we worked on that relationships. You know, everything that I manifest always works out perfectly in my favor. That relationships are easy for me and it flows. And I'm always loved and adored by the people that I am with. So we use assumptions similar to that, and some of those. And then after we identified all that and wrote it down, and we went back then and we rewrote the negative assumptions to some of the positive that I just explained. And we gave her a mantra, which was, my SP always chooses me first and foremost over everyone else. And that was something that was necessary for her, that she felt good with. And she could use that in moments of when she started to react to the situation, and or the third party would pop up into her 3D reality, which again is something that, you know, I reminded her and to realize that the 3D is only an illusion of past thoughts. It's not real. But what's real is what you're saying inside of yourself with your inner conversation, what you're believing to be the truth, what your assumptions are. And so that she would say that mantra to kind of get her back on track. So we rewrote those. And then we talked about persistence. You have to stay in persistence. You have to persist even though it doesn't feel, you know, it might not be feeling like it's real. You might be feeling like you're lying to yourself, but you're not. Just hang in there, and you're changing, you're rewiring your brain, your subconscious mind. So we did all that. We worked on those three areas: the self-concept, SP, relationship. And through that process, she was able to get to the point where he actually did come back and he did choose her. And they, with the relationship, assumptions. I think it's important to mention that we didn't plan just for now, but we also set it in a way that set assumptions and intention in a way that it's also for the future. You know, that we're always in a loving, passionate, happy relationship, or a committed relationship, setting the tone for a continued relationship with that person. And so then her success story, as I told you before, is that the SP just graciously went away, and he chose her, and now they're talking about wedding. So yeah, so it's really cool. It's really cool. Oh,
That's amazing. That's amazing. It took my breath away, obviously.
Well, it was actually fun working with her and just seeing that process and the bridge of incidents, all those natural events that take place in between, and how she handled that. And yeah, so it's really cool.
I know it's amazing to see, you know, it's really amazing to see. So, you know, every time I hear, you know, it's like, we can all have it, and it's all right there. And one thing that, you know, that you brought up that was so, you know, I think that a lot of people deal with is when relationships start to get serious, then there's that fear, right? And, you know, so like, for example, you know, I've heard a lot of stories like this throughout my years where, you know, there was this guy and, you know, sort of like totally liked, you know, the client, you know, like, oh, I like you, but the client didn't like them. But then as soon as the client turned around and was like, no, I actually like him. And then all of a sudden he would go and run, right? Because there was that fear, right? So guys, when you get to that point, anytime in your relationship where you get that fear, you got to deal with it with your mental diet, right? So, you know, exactly what Aletha said about, you know, writing out all your assumptions, like identify those things and bring them to the surface so you can actually focus and change them into what you actually want. You know, all these thoughts and assumptions that we have that work against us, they're nothing to be scared of. They're just something to identify and to ask yourself, do I really want to keep that in my reality or not? And then it's a matter of, you know, sticking on your mental diet and persisting. One thing I suggest and I love is if I start something new, I will write out all my complaints, and then I will write out my new intentions, and I'll read them a few times a day just to start getting them flowing, you know. And then once you've read them a few times a day and you've got them flowing, you're just going to be so quick at it because you're going to be used to it, right? You're not going to have that static where, you know, we're stuck in, you know, this place where we've got these negative thoughts that are causing all these negative emotions. And then, you know, it's, oh, Jerry hates me. Jerry doesn't want anything to do with me. And then all of a sudden you're like, Jerry likes me. Like, you know, it'll flow a lot easier. You know, you won't be in that moment, right?
Yeah, that's so important to do because you described it perfectly. Where you can't hardly even. It's like being in the middle of a panic attack. You can't think, But if you've been going over those and rehearsing them, or keeping a sheet of paper close by, where you can in the beginning help yourself by reading them.
Exactly. I use recipe cards or I put them in my phone. I mean, anything. It's all a matter of just taking the time to go, wait a minute, what am I thinking about right now? What do I actually want to create? Right. This is it. Right.
Right. And it's like anything, learning to play a piano or any kind of instrument, you have to practice it. You may learn the concept and it sounds okay and cool, but then to actually do it, it gets all fuzzy again, right? So unless you practice and practice. So that's a part of how our brains operate, our subconscious mind.
Exactly. Oh my goodness, amazing video. Okay, guys, so I will just recap for you, give you a quick little summary. So if you're looking to change, what's being projected out in your 3D, what's showing up to change somebody is write out what your assumptions about your specific person are. That's when we say SP, we mean specific person, about yourself, about relationships. When you've got those assumptions, rewrite any assumptions that are not in line with your current desired outcome. And basically, one tip that Aletha had wrote here was use words like I am, I have, I always, I am so powerful. And I use I intend, I'll just say, because I'm used to it. And when I say I intend and then I state something, I don't feel the fight in my head, because intend means goal, plan, aim. But when you say, oh, okay, I intend, something, it's still coming. It's not put out to the future. So I'm used to I intend, but definitely focus on what you want and use those sort of words. If you're comfortable using I am, I have, I always get, this is happening, it's already happened, then please do, right? It's not so much how you say it, it's what you're focusing on and what you're thinking about and what inner conversations you're having in your head. I mean, the rest of it, it's really irrelevant as long as you're focusing on what you want, but, do it in a way that's comfortable for you, right? So, yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here today, Aletha. Absolutely amazing. This video is gold, guys. We really intend that each and every one of you guys watch this video and get something out of it and, manifest some kind of movement in whatever you're trying to manifest. And you get that little bit of hope and going, yes, okay, this works. And, and that you're able to take things to the next level. So thank you so much for being here today, Aletha.
Thank you. It was my pleasure and joy.
And guys, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.